authority.
See you all here. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Brenda Kucirka, our speaker for today's President's Lecture. Dr. Kucirka is the recipient of last year's Civic Engagement Award, which recognizes her outstanding and sustained contributions to Widener's civic engagement mission through her teaching and research. Dr. Kucirka is an assistant professor in the School of Nursing, teaching psychiatric mental health nursing. She is certified as a psychiatric mental health clinical nurse specialist and is a certified nurse educator. She provides pro bono psychiatric mental health services to the residents of Chester and community nursing clinic at City 18. Her commitment to transforming student self-awareness, capacity for empathy, and critical insights into the needs of the community has resulted in a strengthened sense of self-worth and self-efficacy among her students. As a service learning fellow, Dr. Kucirka has partnered with many organizations in Chester and the surrounding community to develop partnerships with the common goal of validating and valuing the voice of vulnerable and marginalized populations, empowerment, and advocating for social justice. Most recently, she partnered with the State Correctional Institution in Chester to create and implement an inside-out prison exchange course that included 14 nursing students and 14 incarcerated men that focused on social justice. Please join me in welcoming them.
Thank you. So my work really is focused on hearing the voice of the folks in the community, and that's how it sort of started. So I'll take you through, and I'd like you to just take a moment to think about a time in your life when you felt really heard, really seen. So it's about being seen. I mean, not just seeing, because social media has us looking at everybody and everything, but really being seen and connecting in a way where you felt like somebody really saw like your humanity. So just take a moment to think about it and think about how that felt. So a pretty powerful place to be. And that's really what I've seen with my work in the community. And as nurses, we're always talking about empathy. So this really kind of came naturally for the students and for nurses. It sort of felt like, oh, everybody does this. But the more I heard the voices in the community, the more I heard people saying, like, I really feel like you saw, I felt validated. And that's so empowering. Something so simple. It seems like we all see people, we say hello to people, but we really have somebody connect with you and your humanity. It's unbelievably powerful. So what I want to talk about today is the evolution of the course that I taught, which was Social Justice and Advocacy in Nursing. It started as a course where we were out in the community, partnering with a lot of folks in the community to address social justice needs. And then it morphed into what is now an inside-out social justice in nursing. Well, it's really social justice. It was social justice in nursing and morphed to social justice and advocacy. So I'll talk a little bit about some of the voices I heard in the community. In addition to the work I do in the Inside Out program, the people that I saw that really sort of fueled my desire to really continue with this work. I'll talk a little bit about service learning and reciprocity, the power of validation, as well as looking at social empathy as a model for teaching social justice, which is kind of where I'm at now in looking at this. We did some research, we looked at some retrospective reviews of the students' journals. They did like a final impact paper, and we looked at their papers, and really it fit that model. And so I'll share some of that as well. So again, the impetus for the course was, what I found was, we think, yeah, everybody goes into nursing because they want to care. But what happens, and I see a lot of nursing faculty here, so I'm preaching to the choir a little bit, is that students start to get anxious. And that initial, like, I want to help people, I want to care, I want to connect, becomes, oh my God, am I going to pass NCLEX, what's on the test? And they start to get really kind of caught up in the task and forget that initial thing that brought them into nursing, which was that desire to help them to connect. So I was hoping to get people, you know, woken up a little bit and back into tune with that, because they just seemed so anxious, so worried, and really missing that piece. So they were doing the tasks, but not really connecting with patients. Not everybody, but a lot of students, it's a really rigorous curriculum. I see my nursing types, some nursing students at the front shaking their head. It's super rigorous. So I really wanted them to start to expand their worldview. Like, because I had somebody, when I first started the course, one of the students said, I said, you know, let's talk about what's going on in the world. Like, I don't know, I don't watch the news, I don't know, I'm just studying for tests. So they were completely disconnected from the world in which they were going to be working. So in my mind, I thought, what's going on here? Something has to shift. So it was a real hard sell. I can tell you that, you know, disaster nursing, trauma nursing, death and dying sounded a lot more exciting. Sounded a lot more exciting than social justice and advocacy. So it was a hard sell, and typically when I started the course, I'd say, how'd you end up in this course? And students would say, well, it's the only thing that fit my schedule. Everything else was gone. So I was like the last ditch effort. So, you know, it was hard to bring a whole lot of enthusiasm, but by the end I won them over. So what they did do was, and my hope was that they would expand that worldview, connect with social justice as an imperative for nursing, because that's a big piece of what nursing does, and to develop some advocacy skills, and, you know, start to think about themselves as change agents in the world. So these were the partners that I started with. I started with Heeding God's Call, certainly the City of Chester, Delaware United for Sensible Gun Policy, Women of Strength, United for Change, Providence House, City Team, College Access Center, which talk about disparity and social justice, is no longer with us. The Boys and Girls Club of Chester, and the Widener University's Community Nursing Clinic and Ruth Beck Farm. So it sort of morphed depending on how many students I had, where they wanted to work. So the directive to them was, find somebody in the community that's got a social justice need and get out there and work with them. So, and that was a whole learning curve, because students really wanted to be told, this is the assignment, this is the rubric, this is how it's done. Because we're very linear. I get that. I really understand that. So I really wanted them to stretch. So it really caused them to push out of their comfort zone. So I wanted them to see, you know, social justice is a nursing imperative. And these were two students that did a fabulous job of connecting with several community organizations. And they connected with Women of Strength, United for Change, Heeding God's Call, and some of you maybe have seen the t-shirts on the bottom, the Memorial for the Lost. And they also connected with a woman who was a member of Heeding God's Call, who Christina, who I'll talk a little bit about. So Christina is a great example of the power of being heard. Christina was somebody who lost her 22-year-old son in April 24th, 2015. He was shot 18 times in the back in Chester. One of 20-some murders at that point in the year by April. So, and with her is her grandson, her son's son. And she really was trying to work through her grief. So what she did was she made this banner. So she made a banner, and you can see it, and it was on the past picture, the banner that wraps around with the shirts, the white banner. So kind of in the spirit of the memorial, she put this banner together, and she started doing some research, trying to make sense of, like, why is this happening? What's going on in my community? So she started drawing out the outlines of the shirts, and the shirts had the name of the person who died, their age, and when they died. So she started doing that, and she was just overwhelmed by the numbers. She started looking from 1980 on, and she was overwhelmed by the amount of deaths in Chester, senseless deaths. So she put this together, and she was still trying to find more, identify who these people were, trying to connect with the community, to speak to the community, to say, like, this is a crisis, we got to do something. So she put this banner up in a lot close to her house, and she left a marker there, and she found that people started adding to the banner. So when she had it completed, her real wish was to bring it somewhere to display it, because she wanted to bring some awareness to this issue, and she really wanted to get kids involved, because she was seeing so many people, this was kind of the legacy they lived into. So she brought it, and this was the first time it was actually presented somewhere in public. I was why my students partnered with her, so I was really proud of them because they went into the community. They asked, "What do you need?" Not, this is what I think you need. Because so many times we think we're helping, and we really do come into the community thinking we're going to help, but we stop and we forget that it's not like our issue. It's we need to help. What can I do for you? Not what can I do to fix your problem, because we don't know what the issue is. So they really listened. They partnered. She was very proud, and then Delaware County Times actually came and ran a story on it. So it was really out there, and really was something that she felt good about, of course. So that's her story. That was, another community that I've been working a lot with and the School of Nursing has partnered with is Providence House. So Providence House is a clubhouse. It's down on 21st and Providence, and it's part of Horizon House, and it is a clubhouse for folks with mental illness living successfully in the community. So you can see up in the left corner is the folks from Providence House standing in front of Providence House. Our students up there in the other corner, we just had the health fair this past Saturday. So what happened was Providence House said, we want to do something for our members. Our members really want a health fair. They want to, go somewhere and have fun. They wanted to do some aerobic, like some exercise, some crafts, and they wanted to get out in the community. So we put together this health fair, and I really have to shout out to Dr. Schwartz, Dr. Esther Brown, who I don't see here, who's I'm not feeling well, but I want to shout out to them because they've really worked with me to put this together. Because whenever I say anything, I have to say every time I come to the School of Nursing and say, do you think I could do this? Dr. Schwartz looks at me and she's like, yeah, sure. Just to get me out of the office. But she's always been, and I really will say that our School of Nursing is really fabulous for it. If you want to do something and you have intention, they will support you. So, and Dr. Krause, thank you so much for that. And my colleagues as well, who partnered with me. Many of them have come to the health fair and presented different topics as well. So this was our health fair. And these are just some of the faces of the community. You can see they were really happy. Like I went to talk to them. They told me how wonderful the nursing students were. The nursing students also go into Providence House and do health education on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And they couldn't stop talking about it. I don't know. Are you in that rotation that does that, Ariel?
Well, I just had it once.
They can't stop talking about how much, they've learned so much and people listen. So they really feel heard. And it's so powerful. And if you look, they really look like they were having a good time. And there they all are. These are some of the members of the board as well. So really what I'm seeing is a lot of reciprocity as well, because initially the students were like, oh, we're going to go do this work, we're going to help people out. And what they learned was, I'm getting something out of this too, and sometimes a lot more. So these are just some, and I know some of these are kind of heavy text, so I'll kind of highlight the things. So they said, first I thought, I was one teaching them, but my partner taught me important lessons. And they reflected on how there's a difference going into the community with an intent to partner with somebody rather than fix what we think is the problem. They said, they feel like they changed, they gain more understanding, more patience, more compassion, more caring, and more perspective from what they learned from the partners. The impact on partners was that they said they felt really empowered. We offered them a venue for validation and for voice. And really, people just want to be heard. I mean, think about it. How powerful it is when somebody really hears you. So they also noticed that they were doing better with self-advocacy as well. And they were learning a lot about their health care. Again, for the nurses, critical thinking, thinking outside the box, pushing outside their comfort zone. They were gaining some new advocacy skills. Organization, they worked with, especially like the two students that worked with several different partners. And they actually brought them then on campus after they showed the memorial. They actually had a panel discussion. So we had everybody come for that. So it was a huge project. Expanded worldview. They started to see that the world is a little bit different than what I thought. And you know what? I could learn something actually from my patients. And just self-awareness and transformation. So again, you refine their organization skills and appreciation for social justice and what is it and what does it mean. In terms of self-awareness, I thought this was an interesting, this was a guy who partnered with a community organization in North Philly to do a program where they did some stuff about dental work and vaccinations, an interesting combination of things. But that's what they wanted, they really wanted this. So he said, you know, that he hadn't consciously considered before that he likes to be in control. And it was hard for him to trust others and let go. And I think as nurses, we have that experience. It's hard to say, you know, if you're in control. But if we don't let them drive the bus, then, you know, it's not going anywhere. So I think ultimately, if something's going to resonate, we have to listen to what people want. Because otherwise, we're just recidivism, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So they said, you know, they realized that they underestimated people. That was a big shocker for some people, because initially we come in this like, these poor people. And I think they were really surprised and found, you know, it's interesting to recognize that there sometimes is a fine line between what we call normal and abnormal, the haves, the have-nots. So I thought that was interesting. In terms of lessons learned, they realized that they had to be persistent and flexible, which, you know, like learning to be, again, in that gray zone. And it's not all this, it's not all that. So that was an interesting learning curve for people. But they realized that they could raise awareness by being out there and speaking up. That it's the little things that make a difference. You know, sometimes it's not always those big things, and the little things just as much as asking, who are you, tell me about yourself, what is it that you want? So, you know, somebody said that, you know, this is the first time I really came in and actually, you know, did something that I felt like I was part of the community, because they actually stopped and listened. And I thought that was really great to hear. You know, they felt more motivated. They said it was something the community asked for, and I felt like it was really making a difference. Nurses change agent, because that's what we tell nurses they are. They're change agents. They're advocates for social justice, for making a difference. And you know, somebody said, you know what? I realized I don't want to just be sitting back. I want to get out there and do something. I now have some passion and insight, and it was just really connecting, and that power of listening to somebody and hearing somebody that felt heard. How that moved them and really was energized, and it just like opened up the world for a lot of people. So there were challenges, absolutely. Some of the challenges that they worked with were time constraints, working around schedules. They often had trouble navigating nonprofits, resources, thinking outside the box. So it really stretched people, letting partners take the lead. You know, because they just felt like we could do this and we could do it faster. I think about it when I think about the nursing students that go into extended care. And we say in extended care, if you have dementia, we want to keep you as functional as possible, as long as possible, but they got work to do, and I got a list of 10 people that I got to bathe and get this done, and so I start doing 4 instead of doing 5. So I think they really started to step back and think about that and recognize the power of how people will join with you. Well, actually, if we keep the bar up, maybe people will come up to meet it. And sometimes I think we just have this idea, this sickness mentality. You know, we're looking at from a deficits rather than a strengths model. So we're trying to shift people to look at things in that way. Leaving enough space for call and response. Not just jumping in, but asking a question and letting people reflect on it. You know, and that's a struggle for all of us. We're all anxious, and we just want to fix things and move on. But sometimes you have to step back and trust the process. Dr. Bowen, that's our big thing for the Inside Out class. Trust the process. It does happen. It unfolds. Which brings me to the course is now morphed into an Inside Out course. So what happened was, anybody who's not familiar with Inside Out, and I always think everybody is because that's my worldview, but Laurie Pompa out of Temple University has been doing a lot of work in Greaterford. And one of the men that was incarcerated said, had you ever thought about teaching a class in a prison, a college class? And she's like, great idea. So she birthed the Inside Out Prison Exchange Program. And now I think it's over 200 places. It's international now. So, you know, there's a lot going on with the Inside Out program. So it's an immersive pedagogy in which half your class are incarcerated individuals, half your class are university students taught within a prison. And we sit in a big circle, and we sit every other person inside, outside, and we are one class. So for students that initially they were like, oh my God, like, wait, where? not teaching them? I'm like, no, you're learning with them. So that's what happens. They engage in these informed discussions. In my class, we talked about privilege and oppression, social justice, incarceration, transitions, change, liberation. So our course really, again, these are the things we talked about. We talked about what is social justice. And the guys this year were really fascinated to know that nurses really had something to do and had a social justice agenda. They're like, I didn't know how it connected. So they were really excited to hear that and excited to hear that nurses were interested in social justice. We talked about privilege and oppression and really took a real deep dive into that. And that really was an interesting place because it forces people to be out of their comfort zone to be present. And the other thing about this pedagogy is that we come in, everybody's read articles, and then we come in and we have discussions. It's very interactive. We do a large group discussion, then we break into small groups, they work on projects together, and really engage. So again, that piece of seeing and connecting. And one of the things that always, why it amazes me, it makes sense, is that after that first class, like it's a buzz of energy. It's so loud sometimes that you can't even hear yourself like trying to say, okay, we need to move to the next thing. Because students come in and they get sort of a scared straight talk from the correctional officers, like, go in, don't look at them, don't tell them anything, don't even touch them. So they're like, oh my God. So and then they walk through the hallway, and then they see, the guys out in the yard looking because they rarely see. It's an all-male facility, so they don't see a whole lot of women, and certainly young women and enthusiastic young women walking down the hallway. And we have men in our course as well, thank goodness, because we really want to be reflective of our community and of nursing. So anyhow, so they walk through, so the students are they've heard this awful talk, they get in, they sit down, and we do an icebreaker, and after that, it's like they are just connecting in a way that is amazing. And some of the guys said, we've had other inside-out classes, and it took us like 4 weeks to get to this stage. And I think it's something about the way the nurses listen. And I'm thinking, anybody who's a practice kind of person in there probably has a similar thing because we just listen in a different way. So it's really powerful for the students. So we talked about privilege and oppression. Caro talks about the cycle of socialization. How do we learn the things we learn about social justice in the world, and how do we get these, biases and stereotypes? And then the cycle of liberation. What's the way out? So our hope is that we address it, own it, because we all have some kind of bias. And anybody that says they're not biased about something is not being honest with themselves. And it's okay. It's, we all have, it's just like feelings. You have them. Doesn't mean it's the world's going to explode. It means you have them, acknowledge them, move on. What can I do? And how does it, get in the way of me being successful? So we look at that and we say, okay, let's talk about that. Because often people feel sorry. When we get into the privilege, oppression kind of conversation, people start to feel really sorry. Like, oh, it's awful, I'm privileged. And you can sit in that space, but the reality is just own it and move forward. So we have that conversation a lot. And then we talk about advocacy, and because some of the guys that we work with are from the transitional housing unit, they're going to be released within the next, 18 months to a year to 18 months. So we start talking about what's it mean, what's that going to be like, because that is a sense of liberation. Now, in addition to the guys who are leaving, we also have juvenile lifers in our class, and some guys serving life sentences. So that there are two different people, that we talk to. And then we talk about change and transformation. How do you find power in a place where there feels like no power? Hope in a place where it feels like, there's nothing there. And people kind of look too at the gifts of being incarcerated, which is strange because there are, you have time to think about things, and they really, it's amazing. And I think I saw it mostly with the guys that are serving life because they've been through for a long time sort of a denial, making sense of it, and kind of being present to where they are, and then thinking about how can I move on. And they really, the guys that are serving life sentences in there, really are the pulse of that prison, and they really keep things going. They're mentors to the guys, and they're very well respected in that prison. I've learned a lot from them. They're pretty amazing. I know students are like, wait, what did they read? Because they'll talk about philosophers and things, and I'm like, wow, I don't who that is, I better get that book. So they really actually cause students to like up their game. Because I'm like, you better read the work, because when they come in, they're going to have read it, and they're going to ask you questions about it. And they do. And also, we talked about self-advocacy and self-expression. So some of our projects were reading assignments, small group activities, reflective papers group project, and the self-expression project. The self-expression project, which I actually have some students that are doing kind of an offshoot of it, so I want to make sure I carve in enough time. I have 3 of my students who are phenomenal. They all were. But are going to share their like a self-expression piece that they did at our closing ceremony. So people did spoken word, they sang, they did paintings. Ariel, who's sitting up front, Ariel sang an aria, a cappella in the prison, and like people were running, like, what is going on? And the guards, they gave her a standing ovation. I mean, it was like, people were blown away. So in a place where it felt like no possibility, it became alive. It really was amazing. So what were the outcomes? Empathy and connection, self and other awareness, macro perspective shifts and insights. We started to look at the world a little bit differently, gained some insight about the experience of other. And it really did ignite passions for students to move forward. And I have a bunch of stuff here. So basically we're looking at the social empathy model, and we're looking at, when you do have empathy, some contextual understanding, so sitting in and understanding the context with which other people's lives exist, we then develop some social responsibility and end up hoping, going out there and seeing the need for social justice and being kind of a change agent out there. So that's social empathy. So not just my situation, not just seeing you, but seeing the whole social piece of it. And this is a drawing from one of the guys. This was one of the guys' creative self-expression. And he actually had a whole poem on it. But it says, on the bottom it says, breaking down walls one student at a time. And you can see there's the inside and outside student holding hands, and the inside student with the cuff on. So they really felt this validation. And people cried at the end. It was really difficult to move on because we connected in such a way where people let down the guard and learned more. So, people said the inside students, and I don't have a whole lot from the inside students, so I'll just share a little bit of what they said. They said, we saw each other as not stereotypes, that we weren't so much different than the same, that we were striving to reach something bigger than ourselves. One of the guys, this guy was like a real philosopher, said, it was like water for my thirst hunger. This class gave me confidence and helped me have the courage to follow through on what I believed and not get sidetracked. It was really powerful what went on in this class. Somebody said in the first class that after that big buzz, and it was so loud, and the guy said, I felt free for this moment. I felt seen as a person. They felt like they weren't in prison. The reflections, because they wrote reflections every other week, and the reflections they wrote about not thinking they could ever go to college, not thinking they'd be able to do this, not thinking people would see them, and how powerful it felt. They told some stories of what it was like for them in prison, but a lot of it was just about that moment and being seen and feeling, maybe there is some hope, maybe there is change. And they would talk to their families about it. They would come back to class and say, well, I was telling my family about what we learned in class. So it was really exciting. And they said, we all have a story to tell. So this is the last class, and our students are change agents for sure. And some of the things, and looking at that social empathy model, some of the things people said were, I'm much less judgmental. I learned things. We want similar things in life. We listen to understand, and we respect and care deeply about each other. Self-awareness. I recognize my own conscious bias and how they impact others. People were able to step back and say, I never thought of it that way. Challenge my assumptions about persons who are incarcerated. Because some people came in saying, like, yeah, I think people that are incarcerated are bad people. They've owned that bias. And they looked at it and they recognized they got to see people and find out that maybe that is a good story. Hearing and seeing the inside student self-awareness made me focus on having more awareness for myself. Transformation. Again, I plan to transition into my nursing career. And this was our hope too, because some of the students said that they had experiences of working with patients who had been incarcerated or re-entrants that came into the hospital and how they were treated inhumanely and talked down to. Somebody shared how it was a patient who came in to have a baby, and that the nurses were standing outside her door saying, she doesn't need to hold that baby. Why is she going to hold that baby? She doesn't need to bother with that baby. And just really just stuff you wouldn't think you would say to anybody. And people speak a lot about what they see go on in healthcare. So my hope is that it ripples out, that these students do take this out here. So they might make a change. They said these men have changed my life. I see that the one change should begin with me. Greater insight into my position on the social totem pole. The drive and passion these inside students have for the course of prayer will be a reminder for me to do more. So they really did learn a lot from these guys. They said, they want to break the chains of oppression for myself and others who do not have a voice. They're going to go in, be more empathic, advocate for social justice. I think it's, on and on and on about that. They really learned to stand up about that. So in closing, I'm going to bring up my students, but before that I just want to say thanks to my community partners who I actually had somebody come in who stand outside, she couldn't get here, from the prison. And because they really did step into courageous conversations, and they were vulnerable, and they put themselves out there, and they made a huge difference, in their lives as well as the guys inside. And I still go there because I volunteer for Threshold, so every Thursday night I'm there, and the guys always say, how are those students doing? Are they graduating yet? And when they had tests, they would say, did they pass their test? So they were really super, because the students would come in and they'd have to take a test after they got out of class, and they'd be like, oh my God. So they really had a connection. So I'm going to ask Ariel and Rebecca and Kay to come up, and we'll just give a sample of kind of what I was privileged to see unfold in this class.
Well, I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do ya? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah,
Inside Out. What does this mean? It was a program created to teach me. To take a class in prison with these men behind bars is eye-opening to see what really goes on. What goes on beyond these bars is that these men all have hearts, that they're not these violent criminals society makes them out to be. They're here to serve their time so one day they can be free. And during our time here, they taught some lessons to me while I was taking this elective class working towards my nursing degree.
How do we say goodbye to what we had? Good times have made us laugh, outweigh the bad. I thought we get something to fix it. There must be something I can do. But I can't, not by myself. I need help from all of you. It's not alone that I can change what goes on. It takes multiple voices, and we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 strong. Take what you learned inside of this class to the outside and tell others. Don't sugarcoat it. Just tell it like it is. People get liberated. If you feel free, then you should lift your hands. Wanna shake it, baby? Shake it, baby. I know you can. So many things in this world I don't understand. I won't judge who you love or your brown skin. So many
So this class we had was only a semester. I'll take this knowledge with me. It has changed me for the better. Going inside to bring awareness outside to these injustices that have gone on for too long and will continue unless we bring about change to right these wrongs.
So thank you truly to all of you inside guys.
For using this class to open up our eyes.
We can use what we learned here to educate, to spread the love and end the hate.
Thank you so much. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I think that pretty much sums up what the class was all about. Really, we just started and that could have been it. But it was really a powerful experience.
Is this open to all levels or just
This is senior nursing elective. So it's capped at 15 because we have 15 inside, 15 outside. I wish we could do more of them. Yeah. Yes.
So what's been the biggest impact on you, having had these experiences?
I think the biggest impact on me has been seeing the unfolding of students, both inside and outside students, because they come in, they're really quiet. The guys, everybody's sort of feeling like they're being judged by the other and they don't even realize it. So I think just seeing them unfold and really seeing each other, really connecting in that authentic way and bringing out the best of each other. And for our students, my hope is really, and I'm hearing from students, is they're going to go out and they're going to be the change in that healthcare system. So when somebody comes in that's incarcerated, or when somebody comes in that's been formerly incarcerated, we're going to be more aware of that social context, and we're going to be working with them and not so afraid of them. They're going to be willing to listen and learn. So that was the biggest thing for me. The students are amazing. So every semester we think Dr. Malone and Dr. Doris Malone, for anybody who doesn't know her, is my co-teacher, and honestly, it could not be done without Doris in that class. We're kind of a finely tuned machine now. We've done it 2 semesters, but we've known each other. Doris was my mentor when I started site nursing. We knew each other in a professional realm. She brought me in to be an adjunct. Then she left at the end of the semester when a full-time job came. She left, she was here. But she came back to teach this course with me. And, it's just really exciting. Yeah.
How do you see students transferring what they learned in this context to other healthcare?
Well, I think by recognizing, number one, is to really listen. Like I see them listening and not being, because they have to be present, they're coming in, they really don't have anything with them but themselves. So I think getting that experience, and the experience of being a little bit vulnerable, maybe not being the expert, but being able to listen and hear, I feel like they can then take that knowledge of what a partnership is like and recognize that, maybe I don't have to be the expert, but I can help you to figure out, because unless you're open enough and aware of your biases as well, and I think that whole, those unconscious biases that we bring in. So I think having that experience as well, saying, you know what, maybe they're not what society says they are. Maybe I need to stop and ask people about their story and hear their story. So that's what I hope, is that we get more empathic connection, authentic connection, and a willingness to see partners' strengths. See patients' strengths, not see them from like a deficits model, but saying like they've got a lot to offer. How can I help them to build those coping skills and help them to ask for what they need, because I think too, if we don't hear them, if we're not present enough, they're never gonna tell us their story. So we have to learn how to like step out of our comfort zone a little bit, and that it's not always all this or all that. Life happens in that gray area, and trying to find your way to the middle ground.
Any other questions?